Hello guys, and welcome to another episode of my lecture. This is Olayeni Diekolola Daniels, popularly known as Dieko Spectre, and welcome to another episode of Dieko Talks Law. On today's episode, we'll be talking about a different type of equitable interest. Don't forget that our lecture is on how to identify equitable interest. On today's episode, we'll be talking about a different type of equitable interest, particularly on equitable charge. In previous set of classes, we've talked about equitable mortgage, we've talked about restrictive covenant, we've talked about purchase of land. In each of these classes, we were able to discuss how and why each one of them was regarded as equitable interest. And in this particular class, we are to interrogate why equitable charge will be regarded as equitable interest. But before we go into the substance of the class, if this is your first time of coming to my channel, please make sure that you click the subscribe button as well as the notification bell, so that anytime I release a video of this nature, you are going to be one of the first set of people to watch that particular video. And make sure you follow me on LinkedIn and also follow me on Instagram at Diekolola Daniels on LinkedIn and Dieko_Daniels on Instagram. Also, I would like to shout out to certain people who make this lecture video a success. I would like to shout out to Komolafe Praise from University of Ilorin, who made sure that the lecture notes were made available, and also Odunwale Emmanuel, who made sure that the graphics in relation to this particular lecture is made possible. So with that, we go straight to our lecture for today. When we are talking about equitable charge, how exactly is an equitable charge and equitable interest? And that's what we are talking about today. So where there is an intention to treat land as some sort of security for a loan. Wait. When we are talking about intention to treat land as some form of security, isn't that in relation to title deed? Dropping the title deed with somebody. I think we have discussed that before. Why exactly are we then discussing it under equitable charge? But still, let's move further. Where there is an intention to treat land as some form of security for a loan, but there is no agreement to create a legal mortgage and there is no deposit of title deed, it will be what? It will be an equitable charge. Wow. So where there is some form of intention, there is no agreement but there is some form of intention to use a land as security. There is an intention to use the land as security, but there has not been agreement to use that land as security. Because if there has been an agreement to use the land as security for a legal mortgage, it will be what? An equitable mortgage, because it is just an agreement. Or if there has been deposit of title deed, which obviously must also be accompanied by the intention that that deposit should be such that the land should be used as security, then it will be what? It will be equitable mortgage. But in this case, they are saying that where there has been merely an intention, but that intention has not been accompanied with an agreement to create a legal mortgage, and still has not been accompanied by a deposit of title deed. You just have the intention to use the land as a security, but that intention has not been accompanied by an agreement. That intention has not been accompanied by deposit of title deed. You just have an intention. Where there is an intention but no agreement, still no deposit, but merely an intention, what you have is an equitable charge. Do you understand that? Not an equitable mortgage. Where you are going to have an equitable mortgage, it has to be an agreement to create a legal mortgage, where the legal mortgage has not been done but there is an agreement. Or it has to be that you have deposited the title deed accompanied by an intention which must have been evidenced by a memorandum or must have been evidenced by some parole or written evidence. Do you understand? So if you don't have agreement, if you don't have deposit, all you have is an intention to use the land as some sort of security. That is all you have. Then what you'll be able to create is what? Is an equitable charge. So generally, any written agreement whereby property is to be regarded as a security is at least an equitable charge, though the equitable charge lacks some form of equitable mortgage. For example, foreclosure. and the rest. So when we are talking about an equitable charge is different and distinct from an equitable mortgage. I have told you the instances by which you can create an equitable mortgage. The first one is where you mortgage an equitable interest. The second one is where you have an agreement to create a legal mortgage, and the third one is where you deposit title deeds. But where you did not do any of this, but you merely have an intention to use a property as security, just an intention, but such intention has not been accompanied by the 3 requirements to create an equitable mortgage, then that intention would be clothed with equitable charge, which is different from an equitable mortgage and lacks certain powers of an equitable mortgage, for example, foreclosure. Now note that as with equitable mortgage, an equitable charge is enforceable against all except a bona fide purchaser of the legal estate in the property without notice of the charge. I don't think I need to explain this to you again. All I need to do in this video is to make you understand what an equitable charge is. And I have told you that when you are talking about equitable charge, what particularly distinguishes an equitable charge from an equitable mortgage is the fact that in an equitable mortgage you have 3 things. Number 1, you must have mortgage of an equitable interest. That one is, separate and distinct. You must have agreement to create a legal mortgage, and that one in itself also is separate and distinct. And then you must also have deposit of title deeds. All these I have explained in my previous class. Now, what differentiates an equitable charge from all these things is that an equitable charge only has an intention to use a property as security. Simple. If you have the intention to use a property as security, then that property would have equitable charge. Do you understand? But where you are talking about others, I have told you the elements in my previous lecture, and with that we end my lecture for today's class on what exactly is an equitable charge. On my next class, we'll be talking about how to identify equitable interest, particularly equitable lien, which is going to be my last class on the different types of equitable interest that exist. Thank you so much for watching to the end of my lecture. Please make sure that you click the subscribe button as well as the notification bell, and do not forget to follow me on Instagram at @dearco_Daniels and on LinkedIn at dearcola Daniels. I will see you in my next class.